Hello and a warm welcome to the Rob and Blakey Commentary Box podcast. We are loud and clear on Welsh football, and we're brought to you with the support of the journalism and media courses at the University of South Wales Atrium campus. Now, this is a bit of an unusual one because unlike the five other episodes that you can find on all social media platforms, YouTube, and where you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Nathan Blake is not alongside me, but he is with us. In fact, he's on the line from Kazakhstan. Good afternoon there, Nathan.
Good afternoon, Robert. Good afternoon, all. I hope you're well. Travelled well.
And I take it you travelled well,
journey.
My friend.
Yeah, we have. Long journey. A lot of Welsh fans on our flight as well. So nice to meet a few of them. Met a few of them last time when we got to the airport. A couple of North Walians. A lot of North Walians. That's what I've realised, travelling. Not a lot of North Walians make the effort to go. But yeah, met them last night. Had a good laugh and joke with them, and safe and tucked up in my hotel room.
Good. Well, he's in Astana, of course, because Wales play Kazakhstan on Thursday afternoon in a World Cup qualifier, but he will be joining in. But given that he's not sat on the sofa next to me, we thought, who can we get to replace the great Nathan Blake? Well, of course, it had to be a man who has a unique claim to fame. He's former Wales international David Giles. And what is your unique claim to fame, Gilo?
Yeah, my unique claim to fame, Rob, is that I'm the only player, Welsh player especially, to play for all the four Welsh clubs. That's Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham and Newport.
You must have upset somebody. You must have run over many black cats to have.
I did, Rob, yeah.
Yeah, so you're ideally placed to give us the verdict on the transfer window.
Yeah.
So welcome, Gilo. Welcome to the podcast. And also alongside Gilo, really busy episode this because we're joined by Sian Cousins, who is the FAW's Domestic Leagues Development Manager, to preview the Adran League, which starts this weekend. Sian, are you excited?
It sure does. We're buzzing. Yeah, can't wait for the season to get going.
Because after what Wales qualifying for their first major tournament in the summer in Switzerland.
100%.
Something to build on.
Huge moment for women's football in Wales. And, you know, there's just so much excitement now. There's been a lot of change, a lot of growth. So, yeah, lots of new things to look forward to.
Well, we're really pleased that you're with us and really pleased that we can preview the Adran League, which starts this weekend. Craig Bellamy, as I said, has his team in Kazakhstan. No Aaron Ramsey in the squad because, well, he's played in Mexico. He scored at the weekend. And much of the talk has been about Rubin Colwill not being in the squad. So maybe Gilo will have a view on that later. But there's so much to keep us busy in this episode. And whether you hear or see us, then do subscribe to the podcast. We're on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And honestly, if you subscribe or follow us, it does make a big difference. So, and of course I should mention, and Sian will know this, Jess Fishlock was our first guest. You two are honoured. You're following in Jess Fishlock's footsteps.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, episode 2. So if you've not seen that yet or heard that, then go to episode 2 and you can find us on all the major platforms: X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, of course YouTube and Spotify. So, Gilo, were you across it on deadline day? I saw some stats yesterday, okay, for the 4 league clubs. Wrexham and Swansea are the top 2 in net spend for the Championship this season. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
It is, Rob. Well, Wrexham, I think in all fairness that with Wrexham going up now to the Championship, they had to change. And that's not being disrespectful to the lads that got them there, but you need to change your team. There's a big difference between League One and the Championship. You know, the quality is far greater. And they've done that. They've spent a lot of money. I was surprised about Swansea. I didn't think they'd be spending the cash the way they are, but they've come in for a lot of criticism, their owners. But in all fairness, they've backed the manager, and fingers crossed that they can have a good year this season.
Yeah, and Swansea, I mean, Wrexham's outlay was around just over 30 million. It's hard to tell with fees because the selling club will say it's more than it is.
Yeah.
They'll include the package of wages.
Yes.
And the buying club always likes to tell fans it's lower than what you think. This is a bargain for us.
Yeah.
But we reckon Wrexham have gone to about 30 million. And Swansea are probably in the 13, 14 million pound ballpark.
Yeah.
That's some going, isn't it?
It is very good, Rob. No, it is very good. You know, that Wrexham 30 million. When you think back 5 years ago where they were, you know, who would ever thought they'd be spending 30 million in the Championship? So that's their intent. They want to do really well. And it was funny the other week, a sad day really. I went up for Joey Jones's funeral. I'd never met him before. I had about half an hour with the manager, Phil Parkinson. Me and Walshy were sat in the bar. He came in. Lovely guy, absolutely lovely. But I must say, he's so down to earth and level-headed. He knows that he's under pressure. He knows he has to get results. He was telling us about the problems he had at Sunderland, where he had to be escorted out of the ground because of bad results. And I'm sure Nathan will tell you they don't suffer fools up the northeast, Nathan. So, but what a lovely guy, and I really, really hope he does well. But the pressure's on him to deliver. He's been backed by the club with bringing these players in, and good luck to him.
Yeah, it was interesting, Sean. The first thing they did was when Rob and Ryan came into Wrexham was boost the sort of participation, including the women. So Gemma Owen was gleeful when they came in.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we can really see that now, especially coming to the new women's domestic season. You know, we can see the investment that's been put not just in the men's, but across the club as a whole. You know, they've just brought out the Rock Stadium for the women to have as their home pitch now. So for them to have a base that they own, that they have, you know, complete control over, is going to be huge for them. And also the investment they've put into bringing, obviously, the new manager in and new players in for the season ahead. It's going to be really exciting to see what that does for their on-pitch performances.
So with Wrexham, Nathan, in Astana, you said... Put your neck on the block. You said top 6, top 8 this season. They didn't have a great start, but then they won at Millwall at the weekend. 2 goals from Kiefer Moore, who started to bang them in. And on deadline day, they brought in Issa Kabora on loan from Manchester City, a right back, a right wing back. And then 2 really impressive signings, Ben Sheaf, the Coventry midfield player, and Dominic Hyam, the Blackburn Rovers defender, who played every league game last season and has been around. And honestly, the Blackburn fans, as Mike Jones told me on X, meltdown from Blackburn fans on losing Hyam, which suggests he's a top player.
He is a top player, Rob. He's so consistent as well. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, you're looking at Blackburn as a former sort of Premier League winner, now selling players to, you know, what is effectively your competition.
Yeah.
And they're a competition of going places as well. So, you know, I remember when Blackburn bought someone from Swindon, Kenny Dalglish, to stop them, topping them to get to the Premier League many moons ago. But it's just not the done thing, I don't think. If you're seriously going for promotion, it's not the done thing. So, you know, sad for my old club Blackburn, but for Wrexham, you know, fantastic signing. And alongside people like Doyle, Broadhead, Moore, Cody, they've had a fantastic summer. And I think it's going to take time for to gel, as all new teams do. Very rarely you get a new team together and they click straight away, especially if they're having to follow up on the success of the previous 2 or 3 seasons. A brand new squad, you'd say, or brand new 11.
Well, yeah, they could field a whole new team with their summer signings.
Yeah, and so it's going to take time. But if you look at the players they're signing, again, I look at their past sort of record, 3 or 4 years. There's not many. It's probably, you'd probably say 10, 15, 20% of their signings haven't worked out. But everybody else, you know, has a part to play. So credit to Phil Parkinson and the ownership model and the recruitment model. I always say it, Rob, right? Recruitment is 9/10 of the game. You've got to recruit right, you know. And I keep saying it's not just about these sort of, you know, stats and data now that you can get on a computer. You need to try and find out who the player is, what he's like, what his parents are like, where he's from, and all the rest of that. Because, you know, you're trying to create, you know, a team sort of ethic in the dressing room, that togetherness, that I've got your back no matter what. So it's been a great summer, and I'll stick to my prediction. You know, I'll stick to the top six. A couple of Wrexham fans here already said to me, "Oh, Nate, I don't think so. I can't see it. We should have won this game. And if you look at the game against so-and-so, 2-0 up, and we threw that away." And then I'm like, well, listen, it's like we just touched September.
Yeah, quite.
Give it some time to take. Give it some time to take. And listen, the worst case scenario, I think they end up mid-table, right? I think if they get on a run, and knowing that sort of atmosphere at Wrexham, which I used to say Cardiff used to have, that last 10 minutes if you're 1-0 up, it's a difficult place. So
I'll tell you what puts it into perspective.
I'll stick to my 6.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad of that, because I would have picked you up if you'd pulled away from it. I got to tell you this one. Owen Vaughan Morris, I wasn't being rude when I was looking at my phone while you were talking, but this has arrived on X. Makes the point about Wrexham. 8 years ago, we celebrated raising £30,000 for the transfer pot by rattling buckets. Now we've spent 1,000 times that amount. Still thinking mid-table respectability, but if it squad gets fit and stays fit, the playoffs aren't impossible, as we've heard of Nathan Blake. And Fearless in Devotion say 33 million summer outlay is beyond our wildest imagination. They also say the pressure on Wrexham will now be on another level. But I want to come back to that about pressure on managers who spent well in the transfer window, because Swansea, I can't remember Swansea fans being happier about a window than what they've just done. They have brought in on deadline day. They were pretty busy. They got Adam Eder over the line from Celtic, around about 6-7 million. Isha Samuel-Smith loan from Chelsea, and Benson from Burnley, a winger. So, Charlie, you happy with the way Swansea have gone about it?
100%, Rob. You know, in all fairness, Swansea, I saw them play last year. Well, Cardiff were the better team out of the two last year. Cardiff beat them comfortably at home, and they drew down at the Liberty. But Swansea, they changed the manager, and this guy has come in. He's changed things around, and they went on a really good run. I think they finished in 10th, round about 10th spot towards the end of last year. So he wanted to build on that. But like I said earlier, that the board has backed him. They've brought in some really, really good players. And I saw highlights of the game on the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday. Listen, Sheffield Wednesday are down the bottom, but you've still got to beat what's in front of you. And I thought they played really well. Let's not forget, their last 4 games, they've won 3 and drawn 1. So they're on a little bit of a run at the moment. Yeah. Swansea, I think, if they finish round about 10th or in the top 10 again this year, I think it'll be a good season. If they get further than that, who knows? Blakey will tell you, if you get on a run and things are going well, especially just after Christmas, anything can happen.
Turf Creative on X said, best Swansea transfer window since the Premier League days. Superb to see a strong midfield, variety of options up front. He's given them 9.5 or 10 out of 10 if Manuel Benson signs. Well, I couldn't remember his first name, but it was a very late one. It was so late, it was announced on Tuesday evening, Manuel Benson. And he says he will give us another dimension on the right and competition for Ronaldo. As I said, I cannot remember a Swansea City transfer window, and I can't remember the Swans so happy. It was interesting. I was at Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, and Jan Vypotnik scored a superb, well-taken goal.
Yes, I see that.
And their midfield looked really strong. Ethan Galbraith has been a terrific signing already. They're buzzing, aren't they, Sian?
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's been a really, really good start, and it's going to be exciting. You know, if it all gels and works ahead of the season. Yeah,
in fact, some of them are so. Some Swansea fans, Nathan, you'll love this. Anthony James on Twitter. Message for Richard Montague, he's the director of football. If I was there now, I'd rub your feet and hand feed you grapes. Oh, what a signing Manuel Benson is. There's some buzz around the club.
Well, we don't hear that often, right? In the last few years at Swansea, there's been a lot of doom and gloom after what you would say was a decade of sort of, growth and positivity and what have you. So, yeah, listen, I just think that this is what football is about. And, if you're not prepared to spend money, really and truly, don't buy a football club. I don't see the sense in like buying a football club and then, raiding it, basically, stripping it and getting rid of all your best assets and bringing that thing in while you're asking your fans to pay more and more and more and more. So it's been overdue, I think, for Swansea. And that's why the fans are so excited. So, hopefully they have a decent season or a good season, because can you imagine, Swansea, Wrexham fighting in the playoffs for a promotion place back to the Premier League. If you're Wrexham, back to the Premier League. If you're Swansea, I just think you just got to look at it, and everything's got to lead towards Wales for me, because that is yes, we love our football clubs, but the ultimate goal is to strengthen Welsh football, and the better caliber of player you've got, the better standard you're going to play at, and the better, things get for fans and younger players alike as well. I think it's exciting times if you're a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid at Wrexham or Swansea or Cardiff now as well. Just Newport is the sort of the little question mark, which
we'll
I keep saying they need a training ground and what have you. But we'll get on to that.
We'll come on to that. But I will go back to the Fearless in Devotion tweet. The pressure on Wrexham now is another level. I'm tempted to say, Gilo, the pressure on Alan Sheehan and Phil Parkinson, they've got both of them would probably say they've got probably as much as they want. It may be more than every manager wants more. But both clubs have delivered for their managers. Now they've got a fair point to say, over to you now.
100%, Rob. Like I said earlier, listen, the pressure is on the pair of them, but that's what they'll thrive on. That's what as a player, you want to be under pressure every week. That's what makes you a better player. And I'm sure it's the same as for a manager. And talking to him, Phil Parkinson, he knows he's under pressure. He has to deliver. So I agree with Nathan. I think Wrexham got a hell of a chance of making the playoffs with what they've signed. Yes, it'll take a little while, but I think as soon as they hit the ground and they start winning games on a regular basis, they will climb the leagues. And I can see them being there or thereabouts at the end of the season. It's the same with the Swans. If they get into a groove, if they can get going, and especially just after Christmas, they're winning their games, then they can be challengers as well. But that's what the game is all about, pressure. Would you rather be under pressure because you've signed quality players, or real pressure is when you're down the bottom and you've got no players?
It's interesting, the pressure, Sian. As I said, I was at Sheffield Wednesday. Jan Vypotnik, who some people thought, well, if they bring a striker in, he'll be leaving Swansea. And there was all this talk, and I was asking Alan Sheehan about it after the game on Saturday, and he was playing hard to get on Ida coming in, Vypotnik going. But 3 goals in 3 games for Vypotnik. Suddenly, Ida comes in, there's more competition, but he's responded to that.
Absolutely. And, as players, it's important to have competition. You don't want to be comfortable. You don't want to kind of know your name's going to be on that list every day of every
you
game
do,
of the
except
week.
when it's in your position. I always say this to players. Oh, you're happy about the squad coming in? Yeah. But what about the guys just coming in for your position?
It's
Or is
good
that
to be
just
there.
me being
Forces
wrong?
you to be better, I think.
Right.
Going into every game, knowing you have to prove yourself to your club and the fans, and to do what you're there to do. And I think as a striker, that is to get goals. And goals are important. At the end of the day, you can have a great game on the pitch, but unless the score reflects that, you're not going to make your way up the table. So, for him and the games he's been playing, it's very good.
Yeah, I just want to ask you,
we
Nathan.
sorry, Rob. Sorry, Rob. Yeah, can I just say we thrive on competition. Or most players I know and played with thrive on competition. And when a manager sets you a challenge of bringing in a player in your position, it's up to you. It's whether you're going to take that as the challenge that it's been laid out as, or you're going to fold. I think the modern day football, I don't understand this club sort of one striker thing. When did that become a thing? Like you have one striker and he's your main striker, and I mean huge clubs like Man United and people like that, one striker. You've got to have competition for every sort of position. It's funny how we say, oh yeah, they've got two players in every position, but so many Premier League teams these days will have one striker.
Yeah.
It don't make sense to me.
Let me put this to you then, Nath. You said it's important for Welsh football. On an individual level, where does this leave Liam Cullen with Adam Eder coming in, Vipotnik in goal-scoring form? I know Liam's a different sort of player, buzzes around the front man. You and I have talked about where his best position might be in a Swansea lineup, but they got Galbraith breaking forward. Stamenic looks a quality holding player. Franco is in there, likes to get forward as well. They got pace down the wings, though, even more pace with Manuel Benson coming in. Liam Cullen, he has to respond now, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's it's time. You eat pressure for breakfast, Rob. If you're a player, if you're Liam Cullen, you look at it and you say, well, I know I can play with him in a certain way. I know I can do this with him in a certain way. So when training comes around now, you make sure that you're the one who's sparking how that player, that new player, really reacts and looks fantastic. And you're part and parcel of that, whether it's joining up, linking up, finding him with runs, with balls, with little runs he's making, what have you. But, that's competition. And if you're not, it's nothing for then a manager. Because one thing I think people might have missed out on is Sian is, he's a tough kid. I mean, and he's going to be ruthless. He wants to become a successful manager himself. And if that means cutting someone who's a local player or someone you've bought for 5 million quid, then so be it. Simple as that. You've got to show your form. You've got to be showing why you're in the team, why he's picking you. And that's like Sian said, once you get comfortable, it's kind of uncomfortable.
Well, you're listening to the Rob and watching the Rob and Blakey Commentary Box podcast, loud and clear on Welsh football. We've got Nathan Blake in Astana, got David Giles, we've got Sian Cousins alongside me here. We've established Wrexham and Swansea among the big spenders. I think they're in the top 5 for spending, both of them. And should mention now that if there are any sponsors out there looking to support us, you don't have to be big spenders, but we are open to offers. And even if you're not a Hollywood star like Ryan Reynolds, drop us an email if you want to talk about sponsorship and advertising. Rob and Blakey at gmail.com. So do that. And if you want to follow us and subscribe to us, we'd love that as well. It does make a big difference to join our little gang here, growing gang of people who are hopefully enjoying the Rob and Blakey podcast with our special guest today. Now, on to Cardiff City. They brought in, this is a really interesting one on deadline day, Omari Kellyman, a midfielder signed on a season-long loan from Chelsea. He only joined Chelsea from Aston Villa for £19 million a year ago. Had a few hamstring injuries, surgery last season, but obviously the Brian Barry Murphy link with Enzo Maresca is paying off there. Obviously, they also kept. They brought in Gabriel Osho, not seen him yet, from Luton, from Auxerre on loan. And also kept Yusuf Salek and Callum Robinson. David Giles.
Yeah, that was important. Obviously, I've not seen the lad that they've signed from Chelsea play, but, if they've paid 19 million for him, Rob, then he must be a decent player. And that's a great signing for Cardiff. Like we were just saying then about competition, that's going to add real competition out of the midfield, because the guys in midfield for Cardiff have done really well up to now this season. You know, the likes of Wintle, been very impressed with
Got
Rubin.
a belter on
Oh, an
Saturday,
unbelievable
didn't he?
goal.
Beautiful
Unbelievable goal. Joel Colwill, who's just really adapted himself into that midfield. Completely different to Rubin. He's a very strong runner from midfield, gets forward, gets past the forwards. So he'll take defenders away, or if you lay him in, then he picks up the odd goal as well. So things are going really well for Cardiff. And again, I'm sure Craig must be delighted, because we've got quite a few Welsh boys. I think they played a game the other week. They finished the game with 9 Welsh boys on the pitch. And that's got to be good for us as well. But obviously you want them all to develop. But yeah, what he's done, Brian Murphy is gelled all these lads. They would all know one another, mind, because they would have played in the under-21s. And I think you've got to get pat on the back there to Darren Purse, who must have done a lot of work with these lads. So, you know, long may it continue. And let's hope that Cardiff can keep it going and get straight back up to the Championship for next season. I'm
glad you mentioned Percy, because he's taken some flack on certain websites, and he's just it's a tribute to him as much as anything, isn't it? That these players have come through now and they look ready for the first team. And we've talked, Nathan and I, about whether some players should have gone out on loan and whether they used it well. But they seem to have got their act together, and he's a big part of it.
Oh, no, absolutely, Rob. You know, he's. I'm really glad that they kept him, because it would have been easy. He was part of the last regime, and they got rid of the coaching staff there. But they kept Darren, and he's gone back to the under-20. It's a responsible job coaching them lads, and a lot of them boys will be in the under-21s, 18, 19 years of age. So. And for me personally, I like to see football people who have played the game, being involved with young players, because if they're asked a question, they can answer that question, because they've been there and done it. So well done to Darren Purse. These kids at Cardiff are really, really playing well.
Yeah, I can't remember Cardiff fans this happy for years, Sean.
Oh, absolutely. For them to have had the start they've had, you know, I know obviously they've dropped down, but League One, it's a tough league, tough league, and, you know, it's even tougher to get out of, really. So for them to have started so well, obviously with the ambition to jump straight back up, you know, it's definitely positive, and the fans needed it, I think, after last season. It's been nice for them to be able to celebrate for the last couple of weeks.
Gareth Pearce on X says 8.5 window out of 10 for Cardiff. He says needed a left back, but Huw Jenkins capable as direct cover for Bagan. Kellyman on paper looks a statement signing. Osho and Trott, the upgrades at centre-back and goalkeeper. Gutted old Dowd on left. Would have thrived under BBM, he says, but BBM will get the job done this season, Nathan Blake.
Yeah, I mean, you have to say he's done a fantastic job so far, Rob. You know, I think where Cardiff were and how they were playing was so, well, it wasn't, it was just a mishmash. It wasn't one thing or another. I think I said to you last week, I felt like Rizza was sort of caught between two stalls. He was caught between what Bullock used to do and trying to get across what he's trying to do. And I think what he was trying to do is what BBM has come in and actually done with a younger set of players who were proven to be better than those that were there last season. So I think he's done a tremendous job. And the signings, I think they just add weight, right? Add strength to everything, add competition like we spoke about earlier. And it's nice to be talking about all Welsh football in such a positive light. I mean, yes, Cardiff have gone down a league, but as Sean said, you still got to win. Like Gilo said, it's tough. You know, you might think, oh, we'll go down there and we'll walk it. And that's the fans, right? That's what they were saying, a lot of them to me. Don't worry, though. We'll bounce straight back up. We'll come straight back up. They were already, you know, they already had promotion parties planned in their head. And
really?
Yeah, I spoke to many fans. You know, I've got relations who are Cardiff fans who were saying to me, yeah, you know, League One, no, well, because what Birmingham done and Cardiff is that big city sort of, club and what have you, massive following and what have you. They were like, yeah, we'll walk it, like, do you know what I mean? This was kind of before, like, even we'd appointed a manager. Some of them were saying it to me, and I was like, yeah. I think I said to you, Rob, I said on the podcast, you asked me where Cardiff, I didn't have a clue. I didn't know how it would pan out. Didn't know how BBM would do, what kind of football he played. I know he's from the Pep school, but, it's easier said than done. So what they've done and who they've signed, I think they're in a really, really strong position.
Yeah, and they've sold out their allocation for Stockport already in the next game back after the international break. I'm sure we're going to mention Rubin Colwill when we get on to Wales, even though he's not there. Newport County then, everything very positive, bar Rodney Parade, I'd have to say. But they did sign 2 players on the deadline day, loan deals for the Leicester City duo, Nathan Opoku and Sammy Baybrook. Baybrook is a midfield player and an England under-20 international, had a season on loan at Dundee. He needed help, Dave Hughes, and I've got to say, I'll read these out to you now from ex-Diesel. More penny pinching from Huw Jenkins at Newport. Matt Smith was a marquee signing, but it doesn't look like he can play 90. Gaping holes plugged by loans at the last minute. The bright spots, Nick Zanev, no idea how we signed him. He's the goalkeeper. And Lee Jenkins from Haverfordwest, who we've talked about on this pod before, with the unbelievable long throw. And Chris, 1382837, never heard a name like that before. Next says, dreadful signings, announce relegation now. What is HJ thinking? He's badly let Hughes and the fan base down, hasn't learned the lessons from last season's mistakes, has a worse squad now. I know they're on a bad run, so fans react to that.
You're not supposed to laugh, Rob.
Sorry?
You're not supposed to laugh.
No, I'm chuckling at the fact that it's we're just what is it? The 3rd day in September, and they're already down for relegation.
Yeah.
I fingers crossed, you never know. What we all must remember as well, this is his first job, proper job as a manager. He's worked in academies. There's a big difference when you're coaching the under-18 or the under-20s, 21s of an academy team, and you're winning 4 or 5-0 on a Saturday afternoon. That's easy. But when you're on the touchline of a team that's struggling, you can't bring the players in you'd like to, and you're getting beat 2-0, and you've got to try and get a result somewhere, whichever way you can. That we're on about pressure early. The pressure being on the managers who've spent a lot of money. Pressure's on Dave Hughes to keep Newport in a decent position. And I just hope he can do that. He's a good guy. He's a football guy. He played the game. He's been at good clubs with coaching. He's obviously started at Southampton. He had a stint at Cardiff, went to Manchester United. So he'll know young players as well around the country. And I'm sure everyone hopes, because we need Newport to be a good team in League Two, and hopefully if they could get out of that in the next couple of years would be brilliant.
Yeah, I do think Dave Hughes is a proven coach, not at league level, but we've already seen that they are much better coached now in the games that I've seen Newport play.
No, definitely. And I think, with Newport, they've had quite a few challenging seasons. So, for them, I just think they need to consolidate what they've got now. They need to build and kind of just make it more consistent. I think there's been a lot of inconsistencies over the last couple of seasons, and it's hard then, so to get a squad together and kind of in a consistent environment, hopefully then the performances will come and, they'll be more positive then.
Yeah, I think big responsibility on Matt Smith's shoulders, Nathan. He's a quality player. I think you said he's probably playing a level below where he should play, or maybe 2 levels. And the goalkeeper who has stepped in, and Nick Townsend was my player of the season last season, but Zanev has brought something else to that position.
Yeah, I think Zanev was a really good goalkeeper. I think someone mentioned it there, how we got him. I wouldn't go that far, but he is a very, very good keeper. But listen, I think Newport. It's a difficult one. I think there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes as well. I think I've heard one or two bits and bobs. I do agree with Gilo when you say, coming from youth football or under 21s, whatever it is, into senior football. Like one thing that you never get in youth football, right? Because all parents have to be quiet and what have you, is you don't get the Roddy Parade fans down one side having a go at their own players if you're not producing results, right? They'll pop off at you. They'll be on your case as well, which is an experience that some of the players, if you've not played first team football, would never have experienced. So listen, it's going to be a tough gig for Newport because the season is long. You can look now in September and go, oh, I think this and think that. When you start, I say November, December, January, February, and it just becomes a grind, right? Especially when you're not chasing something. So if you're not in the top 8, top 9, 10 with no chance of promotion, all of a sudden this, we got to go here away from home and it's Tuesday and going again on Saturday. And it's a tough ask, Rob.
Yeah.
And I think Newport's problem has been the lack of experience. That's for me. They've let too many good experienced players go over the last 2 or 3 seasons for me.
And they brought in a couple of youngsters. And Nathan's right about, youngsters stepping up, having to take flack from the crowd sometimes, although I think they've been pretty supportive so far. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, Gilo, but you must have had fans having a go at you when you were on the pitch.
Both sets of fans used to boo me, Rob. Get him off, that was just in the warm-up. but yeah, listen, it's... And to be honest, like Nathan just said, playing youth football, under 21s football, you don't get that abuse from the crowd. So, and the manager Dave wouldn't have experienced that. Now that all changes, and that's what you have to deal with. That's becoming a professional footballer. You have to deal with all them things.
Yeah.
And if you can deal with that, you'll be a better person and better manager, better player.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have a go at you, Dave. I never did. Whether you play for Swansea, Cardiff, Wrexham or Newport. What about when you went back to places? So if you're at Swansea... no, you're at Cardiff first, weren't you? Then Swansea.
No,
Swansea first, then...
The Wrexham. That's the one no one else has done. Yeah, quite a few of the lads, Terry Boyle, Roger Gibbons, have done Cardiff, Newport, Swansea, because it's all along the M4 corridor. But nobody went to Wrexham. To be honest, Rob, I didn't know how to get to Wrexham when I went there. Where is it? But I remember Arvin Griffiths, the manager at the time, they sold Mickey Thomas to Man United, and obviously I'd been very flattered. He signed me to replace Mickey.
Wow.
But obviously, Mickey Thomas was a fabulous player, so I was never going to be as good as him. But I must have done particularly well because Tosh signed me then for Swansea within 9 months. So I'd played for 3 of the clubs within under a year.
My word, talk about more clubs than Jack Nicklaus.
Exactly. I'll tell you about
So when you went back to either Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham or Newport, when you went back to a club, did you get any flack at all?
I've got to be honest, I'm going up to Wrexham now to see the Watford game in December the 13th, I think it is. And I get well treated there. Again with Swan. I think as a player, if you go to a club, they all know I was a Cardiff boy, so obviously, they knew where I'm from. But if you go there, when I first signed for Swansea, when I ran out, you could hear the rumblings. What is he doing here? We don't want him. Send him back. But if you show him what you can do on the pitch and you're playing well and you're giving plenty of effort, I think fans will always reward or be pleased with someone who gives effort and tries his best. And that's what I tried to do with all the clubs. And I must say, Rob, I've never had any problems with going back to any of the clubs I played for.
Yeah, it's like Alan Curtis played a season or so at Cardiff.
Yeah.
Revered for that time at Cardiff. Definitely. Scored a brilliant goal at the Vetch.
Yes, he did.
Against Wrexham in the Welsh Cup final.
Yeah.
But a legend at Swansea.
Yes, without a doubt. Robbie James was another one, who did. And that's what I'm saying. If you do your best and you show the fans, I play for this club now. They're paying my wages. I have to do the best I can for this club. They will back you then.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking, I was trying to think, Nathan, of anybody else, because I did check with Gilo. He is the only one to play for all 4 clubs. I went
weren't
on
brave enough.
I went on Google last night and there was somebody mentioned Rob Earnshaw. You know, these AI things you generate when you put a question in. Has any players played for all 4 Welsh EFL clubs? Rob Earnshaw's name came out. I don't know where that came from. And the nearest one I can think of was Eddie May, who managed Cardiff when Nathan Blake was there.
Yes,
bless
Eddie.
him. He had a short spell at Newport, unbeaten, because he didn't play a game as Newport manager, and he played brilliantly for Swansea and Wrexham.
He did,
big, thumping centre half.
He
So
was.
it is a unique thing, isn't it, Nathan? And
It's hugely unique. I think I don't know. I can I think I've told yourself and Julie little stories which I wouldn't say online, but you know, I wouldn't have done it. Coming back and playing for Newport at the end was kind of like something I kind of wanted to do because it's where I started realistically. But yeah, huge credit to Gilo, because like I say, it doesn't even have to be that you're playing poorly. It's just the team's going wrong, and fans, when they're frustrated, will say nigh on anything and do lots of things that are pretty unwelcome as well. So big up to Gilo. Fantastic achievement.
Yeah. We'll come back to the Wales players who did or didn't go on deadline day, but Cymru Prem transfer window also shut on Monday. Now, just to be honest about this, I actually put out on X an appeal for what have been the best moves in the window, which clubs have done best. Sian's going to come into her own on this because she knows about the Cymru Prem. So here we go. Bear with me a minute because I've had so many replies that I want to mention. So Jack Evans-Law says, Connor Roberts, not that Connor Roberts, the goalkeeper Connor Roberts, called up for Bellamy's squad a few months ago, signing for ambitious Carnarvon following, quote, retirement as we look to push for a return to European football. The Covies have also loaned in Josh Locke, Zach Clark and former Player of the Year, Sean Bradley from the Champions. Top Bins Mag, Dan J. Davis, he's the media officer at Holywell, so I should point that out. Holywell have signed really well, he says. Murtus, Dan B. Linfield and others. Blackwell Jones at Airbus, Hine at Newport. Bay have signed well too. Kane McLagan joined Newport City from Barry. Creamer at Bangor. Charlie Edge got injured. Now he's a baller. Well done, Charlie. Eason at Cambrian just scores for fun. Ismail at Nomads. Daly at Penabont. Jake Roberts at Gresford. Rich Lewis, 82, says Norton Ferreira, Tre Thomas deserves a shout too. He's been excellent, scored some great goals so far, been carrying an injury. Bear with me, there's still a few more. Bush Taliesin, regular contributor to on at Rob and Blakey, says Gwion David from TNS to Denby Town is a great signing. Also points out his club, Colwyn Bay, have signed Louis Robles, Nathan Peat, Aaron Edwards from Ballard, Jordan Davis returned from Scotland, and the Cargbo brothers. Stanley Band fan says Cardiff Met have brought in Jasper Payne, a great addition. Sian's nodding her head. We'll get you take on all these in a moment, Sian. Tommy Couse, mate of mine, who's covered Welsh football for ages. Gwion David to Denby Town is a huge sign and makes him a decent bet too for 3 or 4 in the Cymru North. In the Prem, I'd say Sean Bradley and Connor Roberts to Carnarvon Town are massive signings. And Dewi Ocean says, if you care for Bangor in Tier 3, we do. Then Kai Owen, Tommy Creamer and Dion Donahue all coming in. And finally, Carnarvon 4 from TNS, Jordan Davis to Colwyn Bay, Nathan Wood back to Penabont and Daly, Harry Franklin to Connors Quay. Haverfordwest lost so many with little incomings, plenty of TNS, Corness and Shep.
Can you remember all them, Sian?
Sorry?
lot going on.
It was a brilliant response, and it just shows that if you don't know, ask somebody, and they will
Do you
tell
want
you.
to tell you the degree, Shad?
Yeah.
You're
So,
gonna need it
Sean,
now.
let me take you back to no.
Thanks.
You tell me the ones that really stuck out for you.
Yeah, I think it's been a busy transfer window, I think, in Welsh football. I think it's one of those where it's been a really important one with, being the last season of having 12 clubs in the Cymru Prem and going to 16 next season. There's a lot riding on Tier 2 football this season. There's a lot of clubs that want to get themselves in the top 3 place to get, promotion up to the Cymru Prem. And we've seen that with the signings that have taken place, I think. So I think especially Kane, a Barry Town legend, for Kane, he's a striker. He scores goals. We always know, regardless of the game you're having as a player, I imagine anyway, as a player on the pitch, no matter what game you're having, Kane will get you goals. He'll get you goals in bad games and in the good games. So for Newport to have signed him in at Tier 2, they had a very good season last season in the Cymru South, and they're definitely going to put themselves in a good position to be in that top 3 for, to hopefully go up. And to be honest, I think the one that's standing out in the Cymru South at the minute is Cam Bryan. Bringing in Liam Eason. He's never been a Cymru Prem player, but absolutely has kind of settled himself in at Cymru South as a top goal scorer for the last couple of seasons. And, again, like Kane, he just scores goals for fun, which is important, and that's what you need at the end of the day.
And Carnarvon, the early front runners, Nathan Blake always says to me, let's have a look in February, then we'll look. But they've started well. Good point at Haverfordwest on Saturday night.
Absolutely.
Having trailed a goal to 0. Do you think those signings, particularly they brought some from TNS, do you think that's having an impact?
100%. I mean, Carnarvon started really well. Interestingly enough, there was a lot of people that felt positive about Carnarvon going into the season. There's, a lot of people are backing them to have a really strong season, which, would be really good. They're, a really, really good club in the Cymru Prem.
And they're
really
well supported, aren't they?
Connected to their community 100%. It's a shame this season they're not going to be at their stadium because it's obviously the Oval's undergoing renovation. But coming out the back of that, when that's all put together, they've got the new facilities in place. After a good season, it could be a really exciting era for Carnarvon. Having Sean Bradley go back, having Connor Roberts go there, a lot of players from TNS, a lot of professional players that, are used to training hard and working hard and putting performances in on the pitch. So, absolutely, I think definitely one to watch for the season ahead. Yeah,
well, this Saturday, Bala play Pen y Bont, Cardiff Met play Colwyn Bay, Connors Quay home to Britain Ferry, Llanelli Flint, TNS Haverfordwest. Then on Sundays, Carnarvon Barry. And I'm sure they'll get a decent crowd for that. Must mention, I was on a train a few weeks ago, last season, going to Merthyr, and I heard this familiar voice, David Giles, in the next carriage. I popped down to see who it was. It was your brother Paul, off to a Merthyr players' reunion with Ian Love.
That's right, yes. Paul gets an invite to go up there quite often. And again, I have to say, I used to go and watch Merthyr play back in the 80s then. Used to get great crowds, they could get 4,000 or 5,000. They had a terrific team. Actually, going back to the early 80s, mid-80s, Merthyr were probably one of the best teams in Wales. They used to knock Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham, I
remember a 4-1 Welsh Cup win at Cardiff.
Yes, they did, yeah. I think Jason Perry remembers that as well.
He did. I don't even remember.
He was up against my brother.
I think Webley scored it. He normally did. Dave Webley.
He was a terrific player, Dave Webley, and he was one of them. I used to watch him on a regular basis. One, without a doubt, could have gone on and played at a good standard in league football. But he loved playing for Merthyr. He had a good job, and he was quite happy to do that. But
he did. He worked in the foundry below where I live.
That's right, he did.
In fact, a few years ago, he tried to run me over in Abertillery. Yeah. How good is that? Hey, what a claim to fame. Dave Webley almost ran me over. Deliberately, he came straight at me. I don't know what I'd done to upset him. No, great guy. Great guy, Dave.
I still owe him the money for that, Rob.
Say it again.
I still owe him the money for that.
I've got to mention Merthyr we're recording this on Wednesday. They lost 4-0 at Kings Lynn on Saturday, which was 222 miles there and a half. 222 and a half miles there and back. So that makes that 445 miles. And then last night, after a 4-0 defeat at Kings Lynn, they went to Macclesfield and won 3-1, a Tommy Handley hat-trick. And that was 170 miles there and back. So I've totaled, and I had to have help from this, from the calculator on my phone, 781 miles in the last few days to play football. Now, Sian, you must go up and down Wales. And that's not so easy, is it?
No,
you'd love
definitely not.
an M something all the way through Mid Wales, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But that is some going, isn't it?
Oh gosh, 100%, and it's a tough gig for them this season, 100%. It's not easy travelling, especially they're not a full-time club. Their players, they're going to be working in the day, most of them, or they've got lives going on and they've got to commit this much. But you can really see, I think you can feel when they play home how much the community back them and the fans that are there. And you can tell they go out every game and do it for the fans. They celebrate with the fans every goal. They've done well. They've started well. There's a couple of tough results in there, but they've definitely started really, really well.
Yeah, they have. It's good to see Nathan, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, really good. But I know you're pointing out the travelling and the mileage, but it's part and parcel, Rob. It's what you go, like you say, you go to Macclesfield and score a hat trick after being beaten the week before, and you know, trust me, that's a great journey home. You don't want it to be. You don't want it to be 20 minutes. No, honestly, you don't want it to be 20 minutes. You want it to be 4, 5, 6 hours, so you can have you can celebrate the win. You're together as a team.
Hang on, they're professionals now, Nate. They don't do things like that like you used to.
Like what? I was just saying it together. That's all. You're eating, you're drinking water, you're celebrating, but it builds the camaraderie between the players. So. Yeah, and listen, the ambition for those players, I'm sure some of those players would be to get into professional football. And if you're in professional football, I remember the days you'd have to travel to Darlington and then Scunthorpe on a Tuesday night and, York on a Saturday and what have you. So it's all part and parcel, Rob. But the game is fantastic if you're winning.
I used to go on a bus with Newport at one stage. Because the newspaper I worked for were sponsors of the club, the old club.
Yeah.
And Nathan mentioned Darlington. We went to Darlington on a Tuesday night. Roy Carter scored a goal.
Roy, yeah.
And I was sat having chips on the bus because they included me in the fish and chip rota. Okay. No, they had no money to put together, but they always bought me fish and chips, right? And I looked across, and on the seat opposite is Bob Latchford, former England international, obviously Swansea, and so many Everton, great clubs. And I'm thinking, what on earth are you doing here? I know why I'm here, I'm being paid, but what on earth are you doing here? It's just stuck in my mind all that time. But he still had a hunger for it, no matter what.
Exactly, and that's it. I think as long as you've still got the desire and the hunger for it, Rob, whatever level you're playing at and you enjoy it, and that must have been brilliant for Merthyr.
Well, then he went to Merthyr, didn't he?
Exactly.
Of course.
Then he went to Merthyr, but great. He was a great guy as well, Bob Latchford.
Yeah,
good player.
Was, yeah. You're listening or watching the Rob and Blakey Commentary Box podcast. My special guests are David Giles, Sian Cousins, and in Astana is Nathan Blake. Don't forget, you can find us on all your usual podcast outlets and YouTube, and we're on X, we're on Blue Sky, we're on Threads. You can hardly avoid us, to be honest. And Instagram as well. And please, if you like it, you're enjoying it, please back us and subscribe and follow us on whatever outlet you're enjoying this. Now, we've got Sian Cousins in, primarily because this weekend it's the start of the Adran Leagues, and she works for the FAW. She's a league development. That's it, isn't it?
Manager.
Yeah, league development manager. Okay, we'll give you your proper title. Cardiff have been the champions, but just give us an overview of where the league is now. Then, Sian.
Yeah, I mean we've had the Adran Leagues restructured 5 years ago now, so we're heading into our 5th season of the Adran Leagues as they are, and it was a massive transition for women's domestic football at the time. But absolutely, looking at it now, it was the right thing to do, because the strides the league have taken over the last couple of seasons are huge. And Cardiff, they've had the title now for the last going for the 4th consecutive season, I think. So they've been up there, for the top spot for the last couple of seasons. But I think this season it will be really interesting. I think there's a lot of clubs looking to challenge that. There's been a lot of change. I think we've got 6 new managers out of 8 clubs in the.
Go on.
So we've got, I think, our only 2 remaining managers are Ian Derbyshire at Cardiff City, and Stevie McCarthy-Campbell at Barry Town. They're the 2 kind of lone surviving managers in the Adran Prem. So we've got new managers in Wrexham. Jenny Sugarman coming in, very
really interesting
renowned,
one.
Very interesting,
with a good pedigree in England.
Absolutely, yeah, very exciting. Very exciting changes going on in Wrexham. You've got Jodie Williams that's coming at TNS. Big shoes to fill after Shauna left. She did a great job. Shauna brought the club together, created a real strong team, and obviously last season they got their first silverware, winning the Adran Trophy, which was a great new name in the hat for us, and definitely them making their mark in the top half of the Adran Prem and going for the silverware. So be really interesting how Jodie follows. In Aberystwyth, there's changeover still yet to be confirmed, so kind of watch the space there. But again, it will be Aber have done well for the last couple of seasons. It's challenging where they're at. It's hard to recruit players in Central Wales, with the journeys, and but they're a very good club and they've got good ambition. Obviously, you've seen their men get relegated last season down to Cymru South, but again, a club that are kind of looking to try and do the right things and grow and build together, which is exciting. Pontypridd bounced straight back up, but Claire O'Sullivan, who was there for their last stint in the Prem, has obviously left. She's now at Cumbrian, which is a team in Tier 3. But they've got Drew Lewis, who's been in. He's been in the club for a while. Real good guy, a lot of passion there. So I know there's been a big kind of transitional period at Pontypridd. A lot of players coming in and going, so it'll be interesting to see how they start the season. And then Swansea, obviously Jamie Sherwood did go in. They had, I think one of their worst seasons on record last season. So a real challenging season for the Swans last season, finishing in bottom 4. But Izzy Taylor's obviously gone in now. She was there kind of on assistant manager basis last season, but she's taken the reins for the season ahead. And I think, she's one that's been around the Adran Prem and long before. So, if there's anyone that can try and consolidate that and grow and build and get a good season under their belt, I think, Izzy would be the person to do the job. Can't forget Britain Ferry either. I think Reece James, bit of a hero within the club, really.
How well are they doing, men and women?
100%. The journey they've been on as a club. Obviously they were in the women's domestic Tier 1 before it got restructured, and then missed out on being taking a spot in the Adran Prem when it reformed. So there's been a lot of transition, a real hard, graft for the club to get back up to the Adran Prem and the Cymru Prem. But, their graft and their hard work is really showing now on the pitch. And, Britain Ferry, the men's team, have started really well in the Cymru Prem. And I think the women, Britain Ferry, for them to have the first season back that they did last season was phenomenal, really. Can't take that away from them. And I think, they've hopefully, touch wood, the season goes, with a new manager, a couple of new players coming in. They've lost some key members, I think. Tija and Alison Witt's retiring. There's 2 big figures within that squad, but they've got a real kind of good youth talent coming through, which is exciting. And the Adran Premier is a relatively young league, so young players can come in and make a real impact. So it'll be really exciting to see what they do.
Sian Cousins will now be known as Britannica.
Rob, I was gonna ask, Sian, do you have you've just reeled off so much information there, right? And how do we get that out to everyday people? Do you understand what I mean? Because you don't see it enough on TV. We don't talk. Rob, maybe you and I should start something, and have Sian and have this detail so people can see. And because if you don't see it, you don't hear it. You kind of know it's there, but you have to bring people to it. Is there anything you think, ideas-wise, you think you could improve things?
I'd like to think this will help.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
talking about it is huge, and having the opportunity to do so, I think I'm really fortunate. I get to live and breathe this every day. You know, I get to have these conversations with the clubs. I get to see what's going on. I get to hear all the buzz and the excitement when things are changing, new things are happening. And you know, I didn't grow up in and around the leagues. I've you know, for my sins, grew up over the border and played for my football in England. But, you know, coming over and doing the job I do now and getting to see the excitement around. I'm proud Welsh woman though. That won't be taken away. Yeah, I get to feel that excitement, that buzz, and I think when you get to hear about it and you get to see the work that goes on behind these clubs and the journeys that are going on, it's a real, you know, pivotal moment in Welsh football at the minute. And, you know, we're going to really see that over the next couple of seasons in the Adran League. So the more that people hear and the more that you get connected to it now, you know, get connected now whilst it's at the start of its journey. And then, you know, it's a bit of a hidden gem at the minute, I think. You know, you get all the buzz you see when people find new young artists on TikTok and things, and they go to their first shows and there's, you know, a couple of hundred people there in a very intimate venue. I think that's where we're at currently in the Adran Leagues. And then all of a sudden it grows and grows and you get, you know, tens of thousands of people come in then, you know, be a part of that journey from the start and get connected and know the people. And I think that's one of the real nice things about our domestic game at the minute is you get to know the people within the clubs. You get to know the players. You kind of build their relationships with them. They celebrate with you. They come to you after, whether win, draw or loss, and you can have, you know, a pint with them after then in the clubhouse. And I think that's what's really nice. You're not just a fan of the club. You're a part of it. You're, you know, part of that team, that culture, which is, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, I told you, I watched Pontypridd in the final, commentated for the FAW. Really impressed with their performance in the playoff final. I got one of the names badly wrong, and Kath Morgan was texting me.
I can imagine.
on the wrong phone to say, Rob, it's so and so. But we got over that. There's going to be a review as well now, isn't there, by a group, is it Portus they're called?
Yes.
A review of the league structure just for the Adran Leagues. What are you hoping to come from that? And also, what are you hoping for from the summer, for Wales qualifying for their first major tournament?
Oh, you know, I think it's so exciting that we've got, you know, a company like Porter's looking to come in and support us with developing a league strategy and kind of completing the review. We've seen it in the Cymru Prem. Now, obviously, we're a couple of years into the strategy that's being rolled out with there, and there's been some kind of real big changes going on there. You know, but I think there's the difference is our women's domestic game is completely different to our men's domestic game. You know, we've got our three big EFL clubs still within our Welsh Women's League. And there's a lot of, I think, just uniqueness about the Adran Prem that kind of needs to be sold in the right way. It needs to kind of get the attention and the respect I think it deserves, because it's such a special league, and the work that clubs do is so exciting. So, you know, Porters, they're a renowned company. They've worked, I think, in every league strategy that exists. They've been a part of it. They've done work with UEFA, FIFA. So I think from the knowledge they have alone, you know, for us to be able to lean on that and kind of benchmark where we're at currently and where we think we can be in the future against, you know, the likes of the people they've worked with. You know, they've done WSL, they've, you know, been over in America, Sweden, all the big leagues that are kind of really pushing women's football forwards. They've been a part of it. So to be able to work with them over the next season, build the strategy, complete the review. We had, you know, our first meeting on it the other day, and I think it was a really exciting room to be a part of. There was a lot of really good discussions, obviously very open-minded at the minute because we've not completely done the review yet, but I think kind of the stance that we took was that we've got a real kind of hidden gem within the Adran Prem, and, you know, do we be a bit more revolutionary rather than just, you know, kind of evolve it as it's kind of growing? Could we do something a bit different here? Could we really, you know, find the magic within the Adran Prem and sell it for what it could be? And you know, I think, you know, within the Cymru Prem, it's very community focused. They're looking to build the clubs within the communities, build the attendances that way, and obviously hoping the product improves and our performances in Europe improve. But I think that, you know, where we're looking at in the Adran Prem is we could go a little bit more kind of player focused, look to be a lot more professional, a lot more high performing, a lot more elite within those environments. kind of see the women trailblaze forward and kind of take women's football in Wales, the domestic game especially, to kind of a real new level of competition within the leagues, but also in Europe as well.
You'd like to think, Gilo, after the summer, where we all watched on TV if we weren't there.
Yeah.
No, the results didn't go our way, but the likes of Jess Fishlock proved how good she is. We've had, as I said earlier, we've had Jess on the pod. She was our first guest. We were anxious to get her on. But I remember a few years ago when I was in Qatar, Nathan was there as well. We worked with Jess. She was one of the summarisers. I had to cope with her and Nathan Blake in the same commentary box.
I remember that.
Yeah, well, so do I. But the thing was,
Plan Rumney in England.
my little great niece had started playing football in Pontypridd, and she wanted to speak to Jess. So fair play. I WhatsApped and put Jess on. As it was, my niece got all shy. But she'd been to the international. She'd been to the Cardiff City Stadium to see Wales win. And so her thing was, well, Jess Fishlock is my sort of hero. And you've got to have someone like that, haven't you?
Of course you have. Yeah.
You're on about, player. She's professional. She's proper professional. Probably, she's a Wales great.
Yeah.
Can't all be greats.
No. We're looking for that
She's a
new
world
Jess
great.
Fishlock now, Rob, at the ladies' game. That's what we want, is find a new one. And yeah, we all saw it. And listen, it couldn't have picked a worse group. And it was cruel, really, to be drawn in that group. And I'm sure if Wales qualify again, they won't be as unlucky as they were the last time. But for me, how do you learn? How do you get better? It wasn't very nice getting beat by England and France and the Netherlands. You don't want to watch that. But you only get better by playing against the best. It's no good for Wales beating teams 4-5-0. They're not learning from that. And I just hope the manager, the players, away from the pitch when you've done well to qualify. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They qualified because they were good enough, but they just came up short in the competition. So in the change room, on the training ground, why were we so poor? We've got to get better. We mustn't make mistakes that we did. And we've got to keep finding good players that can play and compete against other nations. And fingers crossed we can do that.
And you were there, Nate. You know that's the opportunity to build on now. It's what happens next is far more important now, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I always say, right, Rob, you've got to be honest, right? You've got to be honest, and you've got to look what attracts fans first and foremost is the players. So you've got to make sure that the players are as high a caliber as possible, and then that attracts investment also. Or you've got to try and attract investment. And those two things together will help you grow, because then you can obviously start to invest in things like, we talk about grassroots, but I still think there's a sort of, it's better than what it was, but there's still, like for instance, there's still schools in Wales where you can't play football unless you play rugby, right? I was having this conversation with someone the other day and they actually said to me, oh, no, that still exists. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, that still exists. I think, if you've got I speak to some men and they're like, oh, I don't like the women's football. I'm like, yeah, well, it'd be different if it was your daughter or your niece, or your little cousin or something like that. You've got to give people the opportunity. So I think the investment coming in, how they attract that investment is going to be having players like Jess Fishlock, right? And she's not a Welsh star. She's a global star, right? She's a superstar. So having someone like that in your squad, you've got to take full advantage of. And also, like I said, the players in the leagues right now, the idea should be, how do we keep making those players better? Not just saying, oh, how do we make the league better? The league, you can have all the trimmings and all that, all you like, but if you come to watch and the standard of play is poor, you're not gonna stay. So I think the investment into the sort of the younger game, and I'm talking I don't mean 16, 15, I'm talking into the sort of 7, 8-year-olds. If a girl wants the opportunity to play in a school, regardless whether it's a school in England or a school in Wrexham or a school in Haverfordwest or Aberystwyth, there should be the opportunity. That should almost be like a government sort of, it has to happen. You have to have these school leagues and what have you. All schools football isn't what it used to be in my day and Gilo's day. So by encouraging and growing this thing, then, you'll get more and more fans to watch it. It's as simple as that for me. That's how I look at it.
You're nodding there, Sian.
No, definitely. I think it's really interesting. We were literally having the conversation about schools football and the opportunities for young boys and girls playing football in schools. Definitely an area that's been quite a hot topic within the FAW, and I know we've just launched a new kind of schools curriculum, kind of in partnership with local authorities and kind of us as a football association, just to kind of create a bit more of a minimum standard as to what we'd expect as the National Association of schools delivering football and the opportunities they should be providing, how regular, what the session should look like. There really it could be the opportunity that for young people, that's the first experience of football, and if it's done in the wrong way, or if it's done with the wrong equipment in the wrong environment, that's their experience of it, gone and done, really. So for us to capture their first experience and for it to be a positive one, and for them to have all the opportunities then that they'd want moving forwards from that, we want schools to be connected to their local clubs so that they can push them into play and playing more regularly outside, and also in more competitive environments. We've got our first girls academy leagues launching for this season, and under 13s is the first kind of age group we're going for as the youngest one, but there's obviously going to be pre-academy opportunities there as well for the 7-8-year-olds that you're talking about, to get real kind of elite kind of more technical focused training for those kind of young aspiring Jess Fishlocks. But also, if you're a girl that's just started playing in school and just enjoy it, go join your local club. And that was one of the kind of legacy pieces from the Euros that the FAW looked to do, was invest into creating more girls teams across Wales so they have more local opportunities to play. I think I could be getting the numbers wrong, but I think the target was to kind of invest in 100 new teams across Wales, and I think we smashed that and ended up kind of supporting 150 brand new clubs, women's teams, to start up on the back of the Euros and the growth that we've seen, to give these girls opportunities in and around their communities. So I think, there's a lot going on in the background. There's a lot of growth that needs to happen, but there's a lot of kind of foundations that are being laid currently. So I think if we came back to this conversation in 5 years' time, hopefully, be a lot more positive one, and we're seeing a lot more connectivity between grassroots clubs, between their local schools, and also us as well, supporting them on that journey. And hopefully we'll have the new Jess Fishlock on the cards as well.
Well, we'll have you back before then, don't worry, Sian, before 5 years. So what I will say, just to round off this section, it's this Sunday's the first games, Barrytown, Swansea, Pontypridd, Aberystwyth, Britain Ferry host Wrexham, and TNS play the champions Cardiff, and they had two belting games last season, where Cardiff were ahead on behind in both games, and somehow came back to win. So they're there for you. I think there's televised coverage as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So the Cardiff TNS game later kick off, because they'll be on Sky to be able to watch on TV as well. The remaining games will be 2 p.m. kickoffs.
And we will keep an eye on the Adran League, and we'll have you back, Sian, definitely.
Love to be here.
Don't go away, Nathan, because you're in Astana. And this is recorded on Wednesday. Tomorrow afternoon, Wales will play Kazakhstan. That's why you're there. You'll be on the telly, I'm sure. You're in Astana, which apparently, and I'm sure you knew this, is the second coldest capital city in the world. After, do you know the coldest capital city in the world? Any thoughts?
Moscow.
The coldest capital city?
Yeah.
It'd be in Russia, wouldn't it? No, I'd say Greenland.
Greenland. Sian, thoughts?
Well, wouldn't know.
Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. I thought you would have known that.
I knew that.
That's what I'm going to say.
I'm just going to say it, Rob.
No.
Yeah. Rob, do you know how old Astana, this city is?
Oh, it's ancient. It's before you, mate, and that's saying something. It's before Gilo even.
Oh, no.
The one I'm in now. That was one of the newest cities. in the world.
Yeah, no, but the architecture is new, but I think the city goes back to
Ancient times.
or I don't know what times exactly. Anyway, we digress, which
Yeah, you're
happens
skipping
with
up
me
because you don't know the
sometimes.
answer, right?
So I'm told I just had a text to say in about an hour or so they're going to announce changes, injuries or whatever. But we know roughly what squad's going to be there, and we also know that on deadline day, Jordan James did move to Leicester on loan, and Harry Wilson didn't move to Leeds, as was mentioned in some quarters. So, what shape are Wales in getting into Astana, Nathan?
Well, I think they're in decent shape, Rob, you have to say. I mean, obviously Danny Ward's injured, Rob Head, and I think Ampadu is out. But
Yeah, Ampadu
Connor
definitely.
Roberts,
Yeah, and
Connor
Connor
Roberts
Roberts
as
as well.
well.
Yeah.
I think apart from that, they're okay. They're in good spirits. A lot of their players, a lot of the players are playing, as we keep mentioning. That's huge for their clubs. So it's not the most difficult game, Kazakhstan. No disrespect, but at the same time, they're really tricky if you don't approach them in the right way. And I think that's the beauty of having Bellas. I think it leaves you feeling comfortable that the team will always approach whatever game it is in the right way. So I expect Wales to win by a minimum of 2 goals, 2-0, 3-0. And then I still think it's all going to lead to that.
It's
Belgium
Canada
won the
in
game.
Swansea next Tuesday, a friendly.
Mm.
I'll mention it before we go because ever since the squad has been announced, there's been one major talking point. Two. No Aaron Ramsey, which I suspect is understandable.
Yeah.
But the name Rubin Colwill keeps cropping up on social media. Nathan and I both said he wouldn't be in the squad. In fact, Nathan, you said Joel Colwill might be in ahead of Rubin. But since then, I changed, Nathan. Yeah, what I'm
Yeah,
like.
you changed like the weather.
More faces in Big Ben.
Yeah, I wish you changed your brief more like
I
that.
can't help thinking that if you wanted someone to come off the bench, the form he's in at the moment, David Giles, is he an omission? I'm sure by the time some people see and hear this pod, Wales will have won, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or will know the result anyway. I'm
Yeah.
sure they will win. But I don't know. Would you pick
He's
Colwill?
unlucky, Rob. I have to say he's unlucky. Listen, he's playing in League One now. It's not the Championship, and it's not as hard as the Championship, but he seems to have something different about him this year. I would say he looks fitter. Every game, every home game I've certainly seen, he is the one now, when the ball's played back to the goalkeeper, he's flying straight in. Now, for me, that is absolutely brilliant because he's stopping the goalkeeper, taking his time, slowing the game down. The keeper's got to do it quickly. And again, no disrespect to goalkeepers at League One level, they're not the best on the deck. So Rubin is creating that by closing him down. But it's just not just his fitness, getting around the park. He's good on the ball. He's creating chances. Created a great goal for his brother the other day. I think it was against Cheltenham when he scored. And he's getting goals himself. Craig Bellamy has obviously looked at him and thought...
Says wants more consistency.
Without a doubt. And that's what he's... Up to now, Rob, this year, that's what he's been. But he's got to keep it going. You can't just start off well and then switch off. He's got to keep it going. He is a talent. There's no doubt about that. And Nathan will tell you, good players will play better with better players around him. But he's got to keep the consistency. He's got to keep going. And that desire to want to get back in the squad, which I'm sure he does. And if he keeps going the way he is, then I can see him doing that.
Nathan, last word to you on this. I mean, as I said, me and you both said he wouldn't be in the squad.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a big help to Cardiff that he hasn't travelled.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it logically, you wouldn't do this, right, for Craig Bellamy. You wouldn't bring him in for Kazakhstan because they're not going to be at League One level. And then, oust him then if you're playing like England or something like that. I think what we're looking at is, we've mentioned the word a lot today, is consistency, and he has been brilliant in League One, but you're not playing Kazakhstan every week. If you play Kazakhstan once and then you go and play Belgium, would you then like have him for Kazakhstan and not have him in for Belgium? That wouldn't do the player any good. I think Rubin, as we spoke about before, has got to get to the point of a level of consistency which he's too good for the league he's playing in. I think he's, like we spoke about other players, he's playing in a league probably 2 leagues lower than what he's capable of. But is he consistent in those leagues above? We've seen flashes in the Championship of what he's capable of, but you need consistency. You need him to, what he's doing now, he needs to do at the higher level. And the problem he's got is, I think if you look at the likes of Brennan Johnson, who can play a false 9, Harry Wilson, who can play a false 9, Dan James can play a false 9, but they can also play wide, right? You can't look at Rubin and say, well, I'd play him high on the right wide or high on the left wide. He's almost like a niche. He is a number 10. He's not a physical player, even though he's got a physical size. He's a sort of very smooth, sweet, pleasing on the eye, does some crazy stuff that other players ain't capable of, we've said before, Rob. But the difficulty for Rubin is he's a number 10. And that is a luxury position. And I made the point last time, if you're playing in a number 10, you need to be almost off the planet.
Better than David Brooks. Better than,
Yeah, some good players.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Rob?
Yeah, no, I do.
It's for Rubes, it's a really, and I don't say I think his brother will get him before him because I think he's a better player. I think equally they're both brilliant at what they do. I think Joe has more tools, has more options. You could play Joe as a holding midfielder. You could play him as an 8. You could possibly play him as a 10. You could play him as a 6 alongside somebody. So he's got probably 2 or 3 positions that he could adopt. Whereas Rubin, for me, I don't know. He'd have to go and prove that he could play high, wide, like a Brennan Johnson on the right or a Dan James on the left, and be creative and be sort of the man in the team or one of the men in the team. But it's a difficult one. I do feel for him a little, but I also say, be honest and look at the situation as a whole. It's not the same for him as it is for his brother then. Do you know what I mean? He is in a niche position, and it's that niche position is like you had a little pop with me, the Diego Maradona, right? The number 10 is the guy you give the ball to in the last 10 minutes, and he goes and does something that opens up the defense or scores a worldly goal. Rubin's got that about him, but he has to do it more consistently.
Okay, well, on that note, we will leave Nathan to Astana and see what happens there, and we will review. Little waves for Nathan
See you,
as he
Blakey.
goes. That's
see
done
you all.
really well on Spotify where people can't see. But anyway, cheers, Nathan. Safe trip home as well. And we will review both Wales games in next week's pod. Thank you, Sian. Thank you, David Giles. You've been absolutely brilliant and really pleased that you were able to make it for us. Yeah, you're even getting a clap from Julie, the producer, in the background.
Thank you, Julie.
So hope you've enjoyed it, and you will both be welcome back again, I'm sure. Whether you want to come back is another thing, of course. But hey, you have been listening to the Rob and Blakey Commentary Box podcast. We are loud and clear on Welsh football, and of course, as ever, we've been brought to you with the support of the journalism and media courses at the University of South Wales Atrium campus. Please follow, please subscribe, and please join us next time.